Let's see if we're live yet. It says we are starting, and we are live. Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Brown Baron of Paperclip, a production of Republic News with your hostess Liviana. I am your hostess Liviana, and tonight my guests include LaPrezCheQueenvara, Lord Flappyhat, also known as Lunar 5 or Pepper, my boo bear, and Union Aerospace. We may have some other people joining us in a bit. There were a couple of people who said one said he would like to come in, and I told him how, and another said he is off tonight, but his wife is a bit under the weather, so he might join later. So hello, and we are going to talk about whatever comes to mind this evening. I do want to bring up the recent situation with the YouTuber known as Kraut and Tea and the YouTuber known as Mundane Matt. These are not directly connected, but they're the same people in the background. Are probably involved in the trouble that the two of these guys have experienced. So, for those who don't know, Kraut and Tea was doing, last year in November and December, he had done some videos in which he had consulted with scientists, academics, to attempt to debunk some of the pseudoscience behind the so-called race realism, which is just a euphemism for real racism. There was a guy who at that time went by the name Braving Ruin, who had previously been known as Edgy Sphinx, a person whom Kraut had exposed a year earlier as a non-ironic neo-Nazi with his rather well-received, I think, video known as "But My Nazi Memes."
Yeah, Braving Ruin is a half Egyptian, half American white supremacist.
Right.
Just to put it in perspective, it's like, hold on,
yeah.
you're white supremacist and yet you're half Arab.
So what he did was he produced a bunch of stuff on Twitter in which he made claims that Kraut was running a doxing server, and he backed it up with what he said was evidence of that. Unfortunately, most people didn't even bother to look at the evidence. They just saw that there was supposed evidence and took his word for his claims without wasting their time to look into the evidence. Those who did look at the evidence, probably the most of them didn't look at even a fourth of it. I myself looked at maybe half of it, and it became apparent rather quickly that the evidence did not support the claims, and in at least one case, the evidence directly contradicted the claims. But there were a lot of people who didn't know who Edgy Sphinx was, or rather who didn't know who he had been in the past. So they didn't know about the vested interest he might have in smearing Kraut's reputation. A lot of other people have suffered some hardship as a result of this. The people behind the race realism, some of these people would be called alt-right. Also, themselves did doxing of Kraut and Jeff Holiday and maybe some other people. And
their families, let's not forget that.
Right. Certainly Kraut's family, his mother received a telephone call from the police telling her that Kraut was dead and she needed to come and identify his body. Jeff Holiday's child was depicted in some kind of artwork. I saw it once very briefly because it was extremely disgusting, and I can't even describe what it was. It was just we'll say suggestive.
It would be like something the mafia would send you to get you to back off. I mean, they're basically doing what the mafia does. Hey, you're investigating our case. We're just gonna have to kill your daughter. That's literally what they do. And, I mean, seriously, these guys, when they start doing this shit, just put them on the same level as the mafia and throw them in jail. Like, you shouldn't go around doing this shit.
Everyone who was in that server, at least everyone that you could see in the screenshots, because some of the screenshots were edited, and you can see that there are names that are blacked out. Apparently those were people Edgy Sphinx didn't want to smear for whatever reason. But everyone who was identified, or almost everyone who was identified as being part of the server, was likewise kind of harassed and persecuted a bit by these people. So you have, Kraut, obviously, who left the internet in order to hopefully stop them from harassing his family. Jeff Holiday stopped doing political content at all and is now focusing on debunking of other types of pseudoscience. Wizard of Cause, his channel took a huge hit. His Patreon has gone down. He's had some trouble, with finances as a result. There have been other people as well who were affected by this drama. And Mundane Matt was kind of one of them as well. Nobody's really sure, but his girlfriend's car was stolen out of their front driveway and then abandoned like 2 blocks away. So, that could have been anything, but it may have just been someone saying, we know where you live and we can hurt you. But Matt wasn't part of that server at all, so what that was about, I don't know. More recently, Kraut finally, now this was back in December of last year, when all of these so-called leaks were released on Twitter. And just this month, Kraut finally came back to YouTube to answer some of the accusations. Now, he did do a few live streams between then and now, probably the most notable of which was one done on DDJ's channel. On Twitch is where it was live, and then it was uploaded to his channel on YouTube later. That one, I think, was about 2 hours long, and it was just he and Kraut talking about the accusations and so forth. But Kraut recently released 4 new videos, the first videos he's done in like 9 months, and he addressed the accusations, he presented evidence, he showed who exactly the so-called Coach Red Pill person is. He gave a bit of the guy's history and explained why nobody should trust him. He did the same with Edgy Sphinx, and that video got flagged down for hate speech because supposedly it was opposed to people of Arabic ancestry or whatever. I don't know. It wasn't really anti-Arab at all. It was just mocking Edgy for claiming to be white when he's, he's a white supremacist, but he's half Arab. So, what is that?
Yeah.
And then also, the last one, the 4th one, which came out, I think it was yesterday, was the one where he talked about Aiden Paladin, who was one of the, I guess, the first person to claim that Kraut had doxed her. But looking at her Twitter past and her various live stream appearances, Kraut demonstrated that she has claimed at least 12 different people doxed her, and some of them before Kraut did. And as I've pointed out several times, once you're doxed, you're doxed. You can't be doxed again. The information is out there. The only way you can be doxed again would be like, if you moved to a different address, changed your phone number, changed your name, that kind of stuff. I myself was doxed back in the days of Usenet news groups, but I don't live in the same place anymore. I don't have the same address. I don't have the same phone number. So, I could be doxed again, but I'm a little more careful with my personal information now than I was back in those days. So, in the case of this particular person, Aiden, no, there's, you know, if she's still living in the same place, and apparently she is, and still has the same phone number, hasn't changed her name, blah, blah, blah. You know, she can only be doxxed the one time. And nobody really knows who it was who supposedly doxed her. At first it was Destiny, she said, then it was Destiny's fans, then it was somebody else, then it was Kraut, then it was Drolasta, then it was, I don't even remember who all she accused of having doxed her. But
Kevin Logan?
Yeah, Kevin Logan was one.
Cute.
Anyway, the point is, she eventually, it was eventually traced back where the dox supposedly came from. It came from herself. A stream or video that she did on her own channel, where she held up a pill bottle that showed her name on it, and whoever it was that was paying close enough attention went ahead and got her name off the pill bottle from her own channel and dug in to find out who she was, and, you know, did the doxing. And then I think it was posted to Kiwi Farms, which is a notorious doxing site, apparently. And as far as I know, they never remove anything. So, I mean, if it's there, it's there, and, yeah, good luck getting it removed. Don't forget, you're there forever. Mm-hmm. As far as Mundane Matt, then, oh, well, let me finish up with Kraut here. The one video about Edgy Sphinx was flagged for alleged hate speech after, you know, 9 months of these racists doing interviews with the likes of David Duke and Richard Spencer. That was Coach Red Pill. Spreading bullshit pseudoscience lies about IQ and race. Claiming that race is a real thing when it's not a scientific concept at all. And, you know, just generally spreading their hate speech. I mean, in one instance, you had Edgy, or Braving Ruin, or whatever you want to call him, when asked, how fashy are you, he said, to be honest, I was short stop of actual genocide, or something to that effect. It's in the video that Kraut did on him. So you can look at that.
On that, whatever you want to call him, you can. That's true. He literally changes his name whenever he gets caught.
Mm-hmm.
He goes underground for a bit, changes his name, and then says, "Hey, I'm a new." He's literally the person who, if you kick him out of the bar, he'll just don a disguise, come in, start this shit up again. You kick him out, new disguise. I mean, eventually he runs out of disguise, and then people just know what he looks like. It's kind of like, no, this is just Edgy again.
Yeah.
But now he's doing this. So that's basically his shtick. Get this guys, get back on the internet, start this shit over. Then when you get caught, run the fuck away and get a new disguise.
Yeah. So as people who do YouTube know, if you get 3 community strikes in a certain period of time, they will suspend your channel entirely. So at least 2 of his other videos, I mean, I guess the other 2 that he actually got to put up on YouTube, Hello There, the one about Coach Red Pill, and the one about Edgy, were all flagged for violations of community guidelines. And the only thing he was doing was setting the record straight and exposing these people for what they actually are, and, you know, laying out the evidence that he didn't dox anybody. I mean, it's not like Wasley hadn't already done a video on his channel where he went to the supposed doxing server, went to the channel that was supposed to be the channel for Aiden Paladin, and showed that there was no personal information there. And he went to the, you know, the log, I forget exactly what it's called, audit log or whatever, on Discord in that server, because he was an admin or a moderator or something. He had permission to do that. And he showed that nothing had been deleted from the server. I mean, from that channel at least, right? So there was nothing, there was never any personal information about Aiden there, as she later claimed. And I mean, her claim went from Kraut doxed me to Kraut server doxed me to Kraut server had my dox, Kraut was spreading my dox, blah blah blah. And like I've said before,
Kraut never doxed me.
Yeah, eventually she finally said Kraut never doxed me, and she was trying to claim that she never said he did, you know, but the evidence is there.
I mean, these are the sort of people who, you know, basically went against the evil SJWs. Ooh, these people are accusing people of crimes and getting them arrested. It's like, aren't you doing the same now? You know, you will probably, to get money, you will probably accuse Kraut of, you know, rape. He did, I think, actually accused them, like, they tried to get him to court for, like, internet cattle rustling. Is that even a crime? Can you rustle cattle online?
No.
You can hire someone to do it, but
in the 13th Federal District Court, there are only 12 federal districts in the U.S. justice system.
Yeah, the U.S. justice system was probably like, what the fuck is this?
So, anyway, yeah, as I pointed out before, and you kind of alluded to it as well, these are basically right-wing SJWs. They engage in some of the same tactics, the doxing and the attempts to smear people's reputation and so forth. And I pointed out recently, and I've said it a couple of times before, that they even have their own version of Zoe Quinn. And that's Aiden Paladin, the perpetual victim.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. Oh, poor me, I'm a victim. I've been persecuted. I've suffered because of this bullshit.
Never heard about that guy before.
She was in
person.
She was a moderator in a channel. I was watching a live stream on Live one afternoon, wherein some of this was being discussed, and she was sitting in the live text chat outside the stream, where I also was, and she was going on and on and on about how she had suffered because of this and all the shit that she'd been through, and Kraut was such a bad person and blah blah blah. And after about 20 minutes of this shit from her, I finally posted in the chat and I tagged her and I said, Jesus, Aiden, Zoe Quinn wants her victim routine back. The stream went on. The stream went on for another hour and a half or so, and she never typed another word. So.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think the worst difference between the SJWs and these alt-right assholes is that these assholes actually go for your family. I mean, this is like mafia level assholeness. Like, at least the other ones were trying to kick you out of your job, and that's about it. Or they were just harassing you. These guys go after your family. It's like, well, are you guys gonna go to their family and set fire to them, and then take a picture and go, "See, Kraut, we killed your parents. What are you gonna do now? Call the cops and tell you guys terrorists?"
Everything is everything is allowed in the name of the right side of history.
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
go on.
Hey, can you hear me? Like,
Hey.
Yeah.
hey, yeah, I'm just having my dinner break right now, so I'm coming on. So, also, I'd like to say that, like, I actually have mirrored like Free Kraut's video, and of course, like, the asshats in Google like put the Edgy Sphinx one in a limited state.
Yeah. Because of the, I think it was because of the Nazi flags that were in the video. Because, you know, there are laws in Germany and Austria and some other EU countries that you can't display those.
It's just Germany and I think some parts of Austria, and that's about it. Like, you can still have the fascist flag in Italy, despite, you know, being an Axis country. But yeah, I believe it's only in Germany and Austria that they have this sort of stuff, which is why when I sort of put the Nazis in my comics, I have to come up with a different symbol, because if I try to put that in, I mean, they don't care that they have the same uniform and everything, you know, just a symbol.
Right.
It's like, and the funny thing is, I went to like a German lawyer and I said, but they're the villain. No, sorry, it is the law here. It's like, okay, I'll just come up with a different symbol. I mean,
yeah.
That's why Hydra in Marvel is what it is. It's we can't put Nazis, so we'll just make a freaking secret side sect.
Hydra was back in the 60s already in the comics, and they were intended to be a terrorist organization from the beginning, but it was later revealed in the comics sometime during the 70s that they were started by, I think it was Baron Zemo, who was one of the arch villains in, like, the Invaders and Captain America back during the World War II run of those comics. And, you know, Baron Zemo was a Nazi. I mean, he was a Nazi scientist.
I think my favorite part about Hydra is the fact that even the Joker wouldn't call you're an actual Nazi. Yes, I'm not cooperating with you. Why? You're about as crazy as we are. Hey, I'm American. We defeated you guys. I'm not cooperating. It's like at least that's the only concept Joker knows of, patriotism. It's like, no, I'm not gonna fucking. I mean, imagine if you put him next to Osama bin Laden. Wait, you're bin Laden? Yes, I blew up the World Trade Center. I'm not cooperating with you, but you kill a lot of people. I'm American. We hate you guys. It's like that's like the generally.
So, let me go on with the story here. So, as a result of getting these 3 strikes on his channel, Kraut got his channel suspended. Or, you know, his channel was suspended. I don't think he got it suspended. They got it suspended. There is a video that was done by David Sherratt, also known as Alternative Facts, which is called the Alt-Right Control YouTube, wherein he talks about how these people will go around and create sock accounts and mass flag people who dare to challenge them or, you know, piss them off or whatever. So, I mean, there is that example of how YouTube's automated system can be abused. And it needs to be fixed. And, I mean, how did these guys get away with doing what they've done for months, and then Kraut finally comes back to defend himself and set the record straight, and he's immediately flagged off of YouTube? You know, this is injustice, actually. As far as Mundane Matt, more recently, there was some drama about him having flagged someone, or a couple of channels, videos, whatever, after he said he had not done so. And so, basically the same people who've been annoying him for 8 months or so, harassing him on Twitter, trying to get him to come on Internet Blood Sports and Morning Kumite and all of that stuff. They even had basically a bounty at one point where they said they would pay him $1,500 if he would come on, and he wouldn't do it, you know, because he knows what it is. It's, well, you tell him what it is, baby. Lunar 5.
Are you there?
I don't even know what Internet Blood Sports are.
It's Discount Jerry Springer.
There you go.
Discount Jerry Springer, but explain it to someone who doesn't know who Jerry Springer is.
Okay, so Jerry Springer was a talk show, if you want to call it that, a talk show host, back in the 80s and 90s, I guess. I don't know when his show exactly went off the air, but he hosted a daytime talk show, basically, and it was things like... it
was relationship drama, basically.
Yeah, somebody cheated on his wives.
They would always get in a fight, and sometimes one of the best friends would get involved, and they would get in a fight, and the crowd would cheer them on.
When I see like talk shows like that, they're fighting, I'm like thinking, how is this entertainment? I can just go to the town square and watch the same stuff happen. I mean, literally, and it's for free. I mean, goodness sake. And sometimes there's actual blood because then they start fighting each other.
It's like something out of a Big Brother program or something.
Well, there was that one time on Jerry Springer where someone started beating another person with a chair.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh my
God. Yeah.
Mighty Corn would be pleased.
Well, then they came out with the whole DVD series. It's like, here's all the stuff that we couldn't show you on air.
Yeah.
Speaking of blood sports, we kind of have something going on over here in Spain. Something akin to blood sports.
Something like Reign of the Bulls or bullfighting or something, or?
Nah, it's more between Spanish ultranationalists and Catalonian separatists.
Nice.
Oh yeah, that.
That's our current blood sports over here, and both sides are not shutting up about it.
So anyway, the thing with Matt is that as a result of this exposure of his report history, which he did on a live stream where he was, you know, Matt is a nice guy and he's really too nice. He goes on streams with people who hate his guts, and if I were him, I'd just say, no, go fuck yourself. You know, I'm not coming on your fucking stream. Fuck you. You know, something like that. But Matt is too nice of a guy, and he goes on these streams and they just tear him to ribbons, or try to. It's like a feeding frenzy. He goes on a stream and they immediately set upon him with questions and accusations and trying to bully him into doing something that he doesn't want to do. And he didn't even know there was a report history on YouTube. I didn't know until all of this happened, and I had to have someone show me how to get to it, because it's not, you know, it's not something you can find from your dashboard on YouTube. Or if it is, I haven't figured out how to get there from the dashboard yet. Anyway, he showed it, and it was like, oh shit, you know. And so ever since then, they've been bugging him to apologize and downvoting his videos and, you know, talking shit about him on Twitter and YouTube and who knows where else. Coming into his own Discord and fucking with him in there. And the point is, he did issue an apology, but he did it on, I guess it was Tumblr. And they're like, Tumblr. That's not good enough. And I said, look, see what I say? They're just like the SJWs. They're just like the SJWs. No apology is ever going to be good enough for them. Don't apologize to them. Just tell them to go fuck themselves. Seriously, they don't give a fuck. You can apologize to them. You can kiss their asses, and it's never going to be good enough.
I have a question. Yeah. Apologize for what exactly? For not
flagging. For flagging people, like.
Well, you know, if he didn't do it, then why the fuck apologize? It's like, I didn't commit this crime.
Oh, because
why should I pay for it?
Oh, because he actually did do it. That's the problem.
He did do it.
Okay.
Yeah,
he
like.
did do it.
See, I just want to say that even though, like, even Ralph is a garbage human being, I really cannot defend what Mundane Matt did. I really can't.
I mean, they fucked with him for 8 months, and he finally had enough. Everybody has their limit, right? There comes a point when you just get to that point and you say, alright, I've had enough, right? So, there you go.
I would say that if even Ralph was directly involved with flagging of Kraut server, then he really has no moral judgment to pass. He has no moral right to pass judgment on Matt.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, that it was Ethan Ralph who had Kraut's channel flagged down. But, you know, there's also speculation that it might have been Jimmy's fanboys, Mr. Metacore's fanboys, because Jimmy got his Twitter and YouTube and something else shut down. I think he has
Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook.
I think he has his YouTube back now, but from what I understand, he's still...
He has an alt Twitter. And,
okay.
The Facebook comes back after 3 days.
Okay. So, I mean, but Kraut why would Kraut do that when it would be, you know, the same day he's going to, you know, do his return to YouTube? It doesn't even make sense.
Jim had a stream speculating on it. They were saying basically either Kraut did it because Kraut would have seen all the drama with Mundane Matt, and he could just flag it and everyone would blame Mundane Matt. Or Mundane Matt did it, saw all the drama with Kraut coming back, and everyone would just blame Kraut.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, Ralph has a bad reputation. Even back in the Gamergate days, he was kind of run out of Gamergate by the Gamergate Harassment Patrol because he was interested in, let's say, bad tactics.
No bad tactics, only bad targets.
It's like, hey, you know, gassing people is against the Geneva Convention, but they're, you know, commies, so it's okay to gas them, even though, you know, you might hit him. You know, it's a bit. This is why I call these sort of you know, at one point I called this argument a Carl the Carl of Westmoreland, because that was at one point that was his strategy. There's no bad tactics, just bad people. It's like, oh, okay, so you basically just piss off the wrong people and get them to go against you. This is how the Viet Cong got recruits. Hey, you know the Americans napalmed the village just because there was Viet Cong in there? Well, why don't you join the revolution so we can kick them out? That was essentially it. Yeah. So, you know, bad tactics usually lead to a lot of backlash.
So there was K out in the live chat says furries was also one theory. Yes, I saw that. The furry mafia or whatever, anime mafia, had some...
Andrew said era.
Metacore, like, that's how I first noticed him, is his videos making fun of furries.
Furry mafia, what the fuck?
It's just, I think it was a bullshit thing in the beginning anyway. I don't think there is such a thing, but who fucking knows what's going on? I don't even really keep up with most of this drama. I know about the Kraut and Matt stuff because they're friends of mine, you know, and so, I mean, I talk with them and things like that. So...
I heard there's a... Sorry, I do want to say that I heard there's a furry Antifa.
Yeah.
Furry Antifa? Wow.
Yeah, and alt furry as well.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, alt furry are the guys who dress up
turn out to be pretty normal.
Yeah, they dress up in like SS uniforms and they have an armband, you know, that looks like a Nazi armband, except instead of a swastika, it has a black paw print. So, yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. I know one of the guys that's in that, they say he is the leader of alt furry, the QQ, if any of you guys know him. He was part of Gamergate back in the day as well.
Yeah.
That is quite disturbing.
Yeah, he used to come onto Robin's stream, and then Robin at one point got annoyed with him and said, don't send the link to the open house link, please. I really don't want them in here. I mean, I know him, I've talked to him, and it's like, dude, it's you know, my country used to have fascism. If he was still here and he would come on and say, hey, my fascist brethren, and they asked him what the hell he was doing, and he would say he was a furry and then explain it to him, they would fucking burn him at the stake. Because they do not accept degeneracy in the fascist ranks, in the actual fascists. I'm not kidding, okay? The Nazis, all these people, the Nazis would kill them.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, this is what I find funny. It's like, do you guys even know who the fuck... This is why this alt-right Nazi furry bullshit hasn't grown much in Italy and in Germany, because we know what the Nazis are, thank you very much.
Yeah.
You do not try to bring them here and say they were good people, because then we'll start throwing bricks at you and rocks, and then we'll start, you know, sending you back to America and the UK or wherever you came from, you know, in a body bag. We'll go that far. Well, yeah, Spain, France was also invaded, but yeah, it's kind of like, you know, the QQ goes over there to the Nazis and go, hey, look at me. They will go, no, gas chamber now.
They'd probably just shoot him in the face, to be honest. I mean,
yeah,
they wouldn't waste that much time.
Out Luger. Yeah,
but yeah, I know QQ.
The SS guards gets out of Luger and starts shooting at them.
I know QQ, and I know him from Gamergate context, and yeah, he's got very strong opinions, and he's significantly more to the right than a lot of people. I don't know if he's actually a literal fascist or not. That might just be bluster. You know, who can tell with some of these people? And I don't think he's stupid enough to believe that, you know, they would be cool with the... I mean, he's gay, like, for example. I don't think I'm revealing any great secret. I'm pretty sure he's open about that. But they would, you know... They had the Nacht und Nebel program where they sent homosexuals to the camps, right? And political prisoners, Freemasons, anti-war activists, labor union members, socialists, communists, social democrats even. They would send them to the camps as political prisoners.
Yeah, I mean, he goes to the SS and go, "Hey, I'm one of you," but and then okay, resume please. I think the SS will go, no, we're gonna execute here on the spot. Well, why? Well, you're gay, you're a furry, and you explain what the hell a furry is.
Hans, get the Luger.
No, they carry a Luger on themselves. So basically, they take out their pistols and go, "We're executing you. We're not even gonna give you the order." They usually will tell you why we're executing you. It's kind of like, let's do it. Bum, 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 bum. Just empty their magazines, load on our magazine, keep shooting at the corpse up until it's just basically just a pile of blood.
Yeah.
And then throw the corpse into the furnace. Because, like I said, I'm serious. How do these people think? I mean, it's like they think that Nazis are just cool without knowing. It's like the people who become communists without knowing what it actually is. Oh, look at me, I'm a communist, I'm cool.
I mean, the thing is, the term Nazi has been so overused lately that it has lost its original purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
it has lost the fear it had as a fucking thing. It has lost the meaning of what it was. A fucking unstoppable totalitarian force.
Yeah, a bit like the term dictatorship has been overused. Like people when they hear the government saying, "No, you can't set fire to your sister," they go, "But you're a dictator. You're stopping me for my freedoms." It's like, you want to set fire to your sister. You didn't know that's illegal. You're murdering her. Well, that's my freedom. No. That's insane. Don't fucking do it. I mean, it's been so overused at this point that people who actually lived under dictatorships are looking at this going, I really fucking hope a dictatorship does come.
I mean,
know what it feels like.
to quote Kiwi Farms in this context, what's the reasoning behind it? The simple stance worth them all. Autism.
Yeah. The Popic Tulhu out in chat said the saddest movement to be murdered was the White Rose, and I said the White Rose was what should be done too. Don't do what the Antifa people are doing, answering violence with violence, or even just using violence as a political tactic. Take them on intellectually like the White Rose did. But unfortunately, the White Rose, they were all, I think there were 3 of them. 3 of the leaders were executed, and the rest kind of dispersed, I guess.
The problem with the resistant, the quote-unquote resistant movements in Germany was that most of the population, except for maybe the communists and the socialists and left-wingers and some of the intellectuals, were fine with the Nazis because, hey, they're bringing our country back from the brink, and they're gonna piss on the Swede that's horrible, that's placing the blame for a war we didn't start.
Right.
So, I mean, like I said, what pisses me off the most is that the Germans back then at least had a reason for wanting the Nazis. It's like, hey, we've just been hammered this fucking horrible treaty that places the blame on us when they should be placing the blame on Austria, but who cares, the Central Power, the Entente was like, who cares about Austria, let's just get most of the money from Germany.
I'd say put the blame on the Black Hand, the Serbian Bosnian terrorists.
Yeah, and like the Serbians, like, hey, assholes, you're sort of blaming your own side then, because they were back in Serbia at one point. But yeah, so they had this treaty imposed on them, then came the economic crash, and they had more of a reason to, want a national revival in this extreme manner. America and the UK said, why do you want this? You're already on the top. Is it just because the world now is growing a bit tired of you guys behaving like the dictators? It's like, hey, do as we say or we'll kill you. I'm sorry that if you keep spewing democracy all the time, yeah, democracy is great. Then you shouldn't be surprised when somebody starts disagreeing with you. Why isn't Europe following us like they're our pets? Because they don't want to come with us in this quagmire called Iraq, sir. Perhaps it's that. I mean, when you're the leader of an alliance like NATO, you behave like a leader. You don't behave like a bully, because then your alliance members are going to go, we're not following you. This is obviously stupid, and you're trying to force us to do it. A real leader actually listens to the people underneath them and goes, yeah, you guys got a point. Let's try not to behave in a stupid manner. But, lately America has been going... Like after winning the Cold War, America has become more and more and more arrogant. As in, like, yeah, we defeated the commies, so all of you listen to us. It's like, no, sorry, that kind of attitude doesn't fly with us.
I mean, we're kind of used to get told from the Americans what to do. For example, I remember when the fucking Article 13 happened, all what Jim told us was basically get fucked. Like, yeah, well, fuck you too, Jim. Maybe you're just sitting comfy over there on the other side of the Atlantic. Still though, what a fucking shit show.
Like, most of the legislation for the internet is written by the Americans, and when somebody tries to come up with an alternative for their own little blog, they go, "How dare you? This might affect me." It's like, the internet legislation is coming from you guys. Your laws affect us. So why are you complaining about a different law affecting you? Oh, it might affect me. You do, like, that's the funny thing. You have, under American law, a Finnish person who pirates something can legally be freaking extradited to America and arrested and tried there. Article 13 didn't have this provision. So basically, you couldn't go to America and say, give us this guy because he pirated something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, sorry if I interrupt, but you mentioned when we were talking about the resistance movements in Germany about the White Rose.
Mm-hmm.
The poor things didn't only get executed; they got subjected to a fucking humiliating trial. Let's call it that way, because we already know how the trials were in Nazi Germany. Directed by a piece of shit called Roland Freisler. Not sure if you heard about him.
I've read the history of the White Rose, but it's been a while.
Yeah, he is basically what we call a convert. He used to be a fucking Bolshevik before becoming a Nazi.
Yeah, these converts tend to be very fanatical, at least for the first couple of years after they've converted. That's true in religion and in politics and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, not only that, the Roland Freisler was so infamous that even the Nazis themselves knew he was a scumbag, that he could not be trusted. So they assigned him always these cases because Hitler knew he was a fucking scumbag, and he would apply the worst kind of sentence to prove he was a real Nazi. Which the Führer fucking knew.
Yeah,
fucking knew. The thing is, the ironic fate of Freisler is that the building he used to work for was called the People's Tribunal or something.
Mm-hmm.
People's Court.
The People's Court. Yeah, thank you, man. It's just translations from Spanish to English. It's just
Judge Grouchy Wapner.
Yeah. Well, guess what happened to Roland Freisler? The People's Court collapsed on top of him.
Oh, goodness.
Because that day when he was at the People's Court, Berlin got subjected to the biggest air bombing in its history, thanks to the Brits and Americans. Some of the bombs hit the People's Court, and the entire building collapsed on top of him. Which was kind of a salvation to the survivors of the 20th July plot, because the archives were also lost in the bombing, so they couldn't do anything with the prisoners. So they're like, well, I guess you can go now since the war's over.
Yeah, it's like you think they would keep they would keep multiple records of this, like that actually, hey, let's copy this and keep it in two separate locations. But
I mean, to be honest, by that time, I don't think there was any semblance of order. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
At that point, it was game over.
It was game over. The entire German army was collapsing. The SS were turning rogue and doing whatever the fuck they wanted. Like,
yeah, at that point, everybody was sort of just waiting for Hitler to off himself. Kind of like, just do it. You're literally the one person that's keeping this entire shindig together, and he killed himself like two days before they got into the bunker. At that point, it was like, okay, that's it, boom.
It's over. The thing is,
have y'all seen that stuff from the CIA though? Where like it has pictures of him alive after he supposedly died.
Not sure about to call that.
you know.
It was like from the CIA dump a while back.
You know the game Hearts of Iron. There is a mod where you get to play as Hitler in Argentina called Senor Hilter, and you just shave the mustache and put a freaking fedora and sunglasses. Like, yeah, that's gonna disguise there, Mr. Hitler.
The thing is, the situation was so bad that the Wehrmacht was openly fighting the SS at some points. You know.
Mm-hmm.
For example, you remember the Battle of Halve, in which the entire 9th German army was trying to break to the west? Well, there was the instance, I'm not sure this is verdict, so take it with a grain of salt, okay? So, apparently, there were a lot of people hiding in the basement, right? Waiting for the battle to be over. A fucking SS scumbag discovered it and wanted to fire a Panzerfaust on it. Guess what happened to this guy? He got gunned down by the Wehrmacht troopers.
Cool.
Because at that point, I think the Wehrmacht was already seeing that the war was over, and so they were.
The battle stopped 1 day after Hitler committed suicide.
And the thing is,
at that point, they were like, "Guys, we can't win this." Oh, but the great Führer is like, "Fuck you."
I'm gonna say recent declassified documents from the FBI say that there's a possibility that Hitler actually survived the war, that he traveled to Argentina by means of U-boat, and that both he and Eva Braun continued to live until, I believe it was the 60s, 65, or I think it was 1965 when he supposedly died there in Argentina.
That's something to investigate.
Yeah, it would be funny if it was actually true. It's like, oh yeah, he changed his name to Senor Hilter. It's like, oh, suddenly a mod for Hoi 4 is actually true.
I saw a video on YouTube sometime last week where they were talking about this German couple who had lived in Argentina during the war, and they would occasionally travel back to Germany and were big fans of the Nazi movement and stuff, and supposedly Hitler and Eva Braun came there in 1945 by means of U-boat, and there's a photograph of a dude sitting at a table at the hotel outside on a patio or whatever. He looks a lot like Hitler, he just doesn't have the mustache. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe.
Well, the thing is, would he have really done that, though, Hitler?
I don't know.
To just run away? I mean, dude looked off the hook.
I don't know. Personally, he was too much of a fanatical, nationalist. I mean, he basically signed the Nero decree, which said destroy Germany as you leave.
Yeah.
People failed me. So he was that much of a fucking insane fanatical. Shit. It was kind of like, I'm not going to abandon this stuff. I mean,
there's also the fact that by the time it was supposed to have happened, he's barricaded in the bunker, and Berlin is coming down around him as the Soviet tanks roll in. You know, how would he get out, right?
I mean, he wouldn't have gotten out anyways. The thing about it is that it's gonna stay as a conspiracy theory unless there's sufficient evidence about it.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, I don't think we'll ever see enough evidence of it.
The thing is, though, like, Hitler did not really care about winning as much as he cared about getting rid of the unpure non-Aryans. If he actually cared about winning the war, he would have had them doing work. He would have had them, like, with a gun to their back, going into the war and stuff, and actually assisting with everything before eradicating them.
Yeah, and he would actually let his generals run the fucking army properly instead of, hey, you
I command everything.
Yeah, I command everything, and you got over. This is why, he fucked up in during D-Day. Oh, the Fuhrer is still asleep, but we need his permission to move the army to intercept the invasion.
Not only the army, there was a possibility of repelling the landings early because there was a Panzer division next to the beaches, the 21st Panzer. But it stayed put because Hitler was asleep.
Yeah, I mean, look, he was fucking lazy. Like, dude, you have the paranoia that they're gonna invade you. Stay asleep. Just IV coffee into. Just stay the fuck asleep. They would have told me, Führer, go to sleep. 9. They're coming one day. You know, it's just they would have actually had to tell me to go to sleep because I would have stayed awake the entire time. Just sitting there staring just next to the radio, waiting until they tell me a bee has farted. It's kind of like just.
Yeah, sorry. Ironically, Hitler claimed that the probable landing site would be Normandy, while the general staff was convinced that it would be Calais. Which is fucking ironic, considering how things are going.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, and there was an order. You can't wake up the Führer. It's like, well, we're literally being invaded. It's like, you know, I think that you can break protocol. It's like, man, Führer, they're invading us. Fuck! Just runs out the door half naked, goes, alright, what are we gonna do now? It's like, well, first, Führer, you're kind of naked, alright, let's go put his clothes on. I was like, okay, what are we doing now? Actually, I would have slept in my clothes, just always in your uniform, sleeping on your bed, not even bothered with the covers, just take a nap 5 minutes and then go back out.
That's gonna stink a bit anyways.
Yeah, who cares? Like, we're in a war situation. Do you think the Wehrmacht soldiers...
Uniforms are dumb, though.
No,
yeah, I mean, you know, that was the problem. He was really lazy and
like full range of motion without getting it dirty. Those fancy uniforms, like it would be dumb to wear those all the time.
The dress uniforms.
Yeah.
What about them?
Yeah, well, I mean, and you know, they did have like our own military. They have active duty, or you know, duty uniforms and combat uniforms. So I mean, like when I was in ROTC, we had our Class A uniform, which is not really a dress uniform, but it would be your standard duty uniform that you wear with. You know, a tie and a shirt and slacks and a dress or a skirt rather, and a jacket, and then you could during the summer leave the jacket off and just wear the top. But there's also BDUs, which stands for battle dress uniforms.
BDUs. Okay, I'll remember that from now on. Thank you. But we can all agree in the end that fucking micromanaging a war is bad for business, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Stalin was smart enough to realize, hey, I should probably let the generals who worship me do the fighting instead of, you know, me annoying them every 2 seconds. I mean, he was smart enough to realize that after a while. So like, well, hey, guys, you do your thing. I'm just gonna sit here and just nod every time.
He still took credit of it, though, so...
I mean, of course he was going to do that. I mean, do you think Hitler wouldn't have done that?
Sure. I mean, thing is, Hitler started to consider himself a genius after the brilliant stroke of the Ardennes.
Well, here's the deal with Hitler: was he rose to the rank of corporal during World War I. He never made it above corporal. So how did he? I mean, it doesn't. People need to think, right, and realize I don't have any strategic brilliance or experience. Maybe I should let the generals, you know, make these decisions.
The thing is,
what you do in war is you let the generals do the fighting, and you, as like the leader of the country, you just say, okay, what do you got? How much more supplies you need? We need this much. Okay, get the war machine going. That's literally all you do. It's kind of like what you do. Well, that's the overall goal, so you guys figure it out.
Yeah, but the problem is that Hitler always had a disdain for the general staff in general, even before the war started.
Mm-hmm.
Because Hitler considered the general staff as a part of the bad stuff of Germany, mostly related to aristocracy.
Mm-hmm.
Because he liked to call the generals as a bunch of, how you would call it, that they only call themselves generals because they studied at an academy only to learn how to hold a fork and a knife.
Yeah, and you were so much. He was literally a courier in World War I. He literally spent his time behind the trenches, riding on his little bike, giving the message to the general, and then going back. That's, I mean, he did get shelled once, but not exactly the most dangerous job in the war.
Not only, well, yeah, he got shelled once, and also he got gassed.
That might have been what fucked him up badly.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Not only that, but you could thank Dr. Theodore Morell for that too. Not sure if you know about that guy.
Oh yeah, hey.
I do not.
The only way to get your he basically was a psychologist when Hitler got gassed. That he, after once you get gassed by mustard gas, you're supposed to get your eyesight after a few days, but he didn't. So they sent to this doctor, and he concluded that the only way for Hitler to get his sight back was to boost his ego. So apparently, the only way to cure Hitler from his bad eyesight was to just praise him all the time, which seems like a weird way of curing someone.
I mean,
bad eyesight.
Dr. Theodore Morell was not the psychologist. He was basically Hitler's personal medic. And one of the reasons why they say that Hitler was addicted to methamphetamine, because he was always pushing meth on him.
Yeah, I've read about that too.
Yeah, I love that. It's essentially, hey sir, well at that time cocaine was considered like an actual medicine, like it was like a prescription drug. Is that no more? So just snort this stuff 3 times a day. And,
I think we still had cocaine in Coca-Cola back then too.
Yeah, can you imagine?
I know some people used cocaine when they were searched by dogs. They'd rub cocaine rags over the dog's nose, and it would actually like mess with the dog's ability to smell.
Fucking hell.
Can you imagine like Hitler during the night? He's like, okay, I need to take my prescription. Takes out the cocaine thing, puts it in lines, and goes.
I mean, that'd be fucking hilarious.
You just see the doctor. How are you feeling, sir? I'm feeling great. You know?
He has like the Scarface mountain of coke.
I mean,
that's like I feel more. I have more energy in me. That's good. It means the drugs is working. You should take a little bit more of that.
But the question is, did he ever snort it off his wife's ass?
So we could say that he lost the war because he got high on his own supply.
No, it was really meth that was his deal. Which is a very, very bad form of speed. If you take it long enough and large enough quantities, you develop what is known as methamphetamine psychosis, which is characterized by delusions and paranoia. And I don't think that would be too far out of the realm of possibility as a diagnosis for that particular guy.
Adolf.
Yeah.
The thing. Sorry if I interrupt, but let me tell you this. Maybe Dr. Theodore Morell was a double agent working for the Allies all along.
Yeah, it was the plan. Just drag him up until he goes insane and starts fucking up war.
Maybe. I mean, it sounds plausible, doesn't it?
I mean, the funny thing is, before he killed himself on the 30th of April, he was literally the conversation in the bunker degenerated to makeup is made by scraping off feces from the Paris sewer and from doggy. That's you could have just seen the Eva Braun and everybody around them going, okay, the boss has just lost it. They were just nodding and smiling, but behind closed doors, they were like, oh god, this is the guy running the country now. Well, country.
Well, fuck. I mean, the country always left is basically the Rice Chancellor.
You do know that some makeup is made with bat guano, right?
You know that some really expensive and fancy coffees, they feed cats the beans, and then they get the beans back from the cat shit.
Yeah, okay, I get bat guano, but you don't literally go to the sewer in Paris and start scraping off.
No, you don't.
I think it wasn't makeup. It was actually lipstick. Like lipstick is made from freaking human feces straight from the Paris sewers and dog hair. And everybody around them was like, "Okay, sir, close the door." I think the boss has just lost it. It's just gone. We could understand the Jewish being evil. We could understand the communists being evil. We could understand all this stuff. But this is just too much. Like even they were like, "Oh fuck." Really? This is like conspiratorial level shit even for the Nazis. It's like, gee.
I mean, the thing is, you gotta understand that the entire Nazi court was a bad case of everyone being batshit insane. You know.
Yeah, I'm very sycophantic.
I mean, have you read Game of Thrones? It's basically that in the Nazi court. Well, without the murdering part, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, the problem was that there was just so much infighting. I mean, they didn't go to a full war economy up until 43, I believe. Which is like, yeah. Wait, you haven't gone to a full war economy? Are you fucking crazy? Well, the German people don't. You know, we can't deprive the German people of lipstick. You're in a war situation. Help them get. I mean. I think it was after Stalingrad. They just turned the defeat into a victory, and Goebbels basically said, is everybody ready to get behind the war effort? Am I thinking, we have been at war for, 39, 40, we have been at war for more or less 4 years. What's taking you guys so long to get us behind the war effort? I mean, it's kind of silly if you think about it. It's like,
some of that infighting among the high brass can also be explained by meth, because Hitler encouraged his generals to use it as well. So again, paranoia and delusions.
Yeah, for example, there was this case of we all remember our old friend Heinrich Himmler, right?
Yeah.
Well, Himmler, who was the big fish of the SS, who had a very strong rivalry with another guy called Martin Bormann. Well, Bormann managed to fuck Himmler up this way. He assigned him to the command of the Army Group Vistula. Army Group Vistula was the remnants of Army Group Center that had fallen back to the Vistula after the Soviets, bomb rushed them and destroyed their asses back in Belarusia. Well, guess what happened when Himmler took over command of the Army Group Vistula? A fucking disaster. The entire Army Group got destroyed by the Soviets because Himmler, for all of his management of the SS, did not have a single lick of what the fuck to do as a military man.
Well, that's the thing. He was too young to join the military during World War I, and he loved it. The only reason he joined the Nazis was so he could play soldier. I'm like thinking, you're not a soldier. Hitler is more of a soldier, and he was a fucking corporal. Like, the only person that could consider himself a soldier in there was Ernst Röhm, and he was dead. And, what's his name? The leader of the Air Force.
Fat Hermann.
Yeah, Goering. Like, he was actually a freaking war hero. Like, he used to fly planes. That was.
Yeah, I'll tell you about Goering in World War I as a pilot. Von Richthofen, Manfred von Richthofen, the Red Baron as we know him, did not want Goering in his Yasta. He had him transferred out.
How come he hated him so much?
I think he was just fucking incompetent.
Really?
Yeah.
So the Nazi war machine was basically led by a bunch of incompetent idiots who couldn't join World War I, or were too incompetent during World War I.
The thing is,
like, you just saw the generals going, "Why are we being led by the idiots of World War I?" I mean, just saying.
The thing is, what happened after that disaster? Well, let's say that it basically destroyed Himmler's reputation and upped Bormann's reputation, because Bormann was already striving to become the leader of the Reich once Hitler would basically kiss the ground. But I'm like, Bormann, don't you realize what the fuck is going on? The entire German Reich.
You're losing. Get the fuck out of there as soon as you can, you idiot.
The entire German Reich is collapsing. The Eastern Front is fucked. The Americans are approaching the Ruhr. Don't you think you should have a plane out of there? Considering that it's not fucking worth to be the hair of a fucking 10-foot yard room?
Yeah, I mean, when Hitler committed suicide and Bormann, they chose Dönitz already, Admiral Dönitz as like the new leader. Bormann was like, what do you mean I don't get to be leader? I think at that point somebody should have just slapped him on the head. It's like, dude, the Red Army is right across the street. You want to be leader of the shindig? Yes. Okay, you go talk to them then.
The thing is, the decision of making Dönitz as a leader of the Reich was kind of made sense because of how Hitler thought. The SS had betrayed him, the army had failed him, the Air Force had also failed him. The only thing that didn't fail him, considering his view, was the Navy. You know what I mean? He considered that basically everyone had failed him except the Navy for some reason, even if the Navy also got fucking trashed.
Yeah, like the sinking of the Bismarck.
Fucking hell, we all remember that. Rip Bismarck.
They torpedoed the steering mechanism, so it was basically going in circles, going, oh fuck, now we literally are sitting there. That was it. They used this older planes that the anti-air system couldn't cope with because they were much slower, so they were firing ahead. It's like, this isn't working. They fired the torpedo. It hit the rudder just as the ship was turning, because the captain said, "Start turning so we can avoid that thing." And as it was turning, it hit the rudders just in front of them, so it hit the steering mechanism. So they were just stuck. So no matter how much they turned the wheel the other way, it's like, it's not turning, sir. We're still turning to the left over here.
Thing is, the thing with the Bismarck. Well, thing is, the Bismarck itself didn't have the more advanced anti-aircraft systems of the British, because we all know how effective the Bofors were in the Imperial British Navy. So, I
mean, they didn't even use radar. That was the thing. The only country that more or less pioneered radar was the UK, and then the US saw the advantage because, hey, if you can predict where these guys are coming from, it's really useful, because then you can sort of prepare your defenses. Japan didn't do it because, their bullshit warrior code said you can't print. It's like, so your idea of fighting is literally punching your enemy up until one of you falls. Now, what happens if your enemy shows up with a gun? Do you show up with a gun? No, because that would be dishonorable. Okay, then you're gonna fucking lose.
I mean, the thing is,
with the Japanese, they were really into their warrior culture a bit too much.
Not only that, the thing is, I don't think the Japanese considered the Americans worthy of their honor, to be honest.
Well,
and yeah, you've got the Japanese
culture in Japan at the time, because if you shamed your family, you killed yourself, was one of the things still going on back then.
And you have the Japanese pilots flying planes made out of plywood loaded with explosives and fuel into American naval vessels to kill themselves, right?
Yeah, kamikaze.
Why do kamikaze pilots wear helmets?
Yeah, it's kind of like, why wearing that thing? You're not going to survive. They were very wasteful. They were just taking off the helmet gear to an actual soldier. Hey, you're going to die, so give me that thing. I mean, the thing was, like, for example, during the Battle of Midway, you had Admiral Nagumo, who there was the stories of the Japanese admirals never leaving the fucking ship as it was sinking. I'd rather die on this thing. Fletcher, an American, was like, "Oh, my aircraft carrier is sinking. Can we fix it anymore?" "No, sir, we did all we can before. We literally are sinking this time." "Okay, abandon ship." Yeah, he literally said, "Yeah, let's just leave. I mean, this thing is gonna sink anyway." And let's give him credit. He saved himself. He wasn't dumb enough to. "No, I'm gonna stay on this fucking ship because of honor." Some other stupid thing like that.
Yeah. Okay, let me let's go over the recent news for a little bit here. So there was an article that came out in Ars Technica on the 16th of March, actually, so it's not really recent news, but it's still going on. Pfizer CEO gets 61% pay raise to $27.9 million as drug prices continue to climb. We also have, let's see, during the great wildfires in California, I think we talked about this previously, Verizon, which is one of the internet service providers and mobile phone companies in the U.S., decided to throttle the fire department's access because we don't have net neutrality anymore. So 1,000 first responders, firemen, EMTs, and so forth, have urged Congress to restore net neutrality after Verizon throttled them during the wildfires. That's good. We have the state of California. The State House of Representatives has approved the bill to restore net neutrality in the state of California. It now goes to the Senate. But these guys are calling on the United States Congress to restore net neutrality. And this just recently happened, like yesterday or today was when the California House of Representatives voted on the net neutrality bill for their state.
Can you do it on a state-by-state basis? Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah, if every state or the majority of the states were to do that, then, and especially if you have these big states like California and New York, who restore net neutrality, it's going to be, you know,
it's a big push.
It's
it's kind of like, oh, these guys are doing it, we're not going to restore it. I think even like for example with the war on drugs, if the same states actually legalize marijuana, then they will be into this.
Because there's no profit to be had really by the internet service providers if you've got the two of the most populated states in the country who've said, fuck you guys, you can't do that shit here. You know, I mean, they would.
And California, where Silicon Valley is, I think that's where Google is. So if they do it, it's not like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, once you get those guys behind you, then you know, whatever the fucking companies say, it's not like, yeah, but in your state where you are, they put it back up. So what's the fucking point? We're gonna bully pretty much the biggest state. Well, you know, in terms of economy, you know, California is sort of the biggest, more or less. I don't know how it is now, but they are sort of the biggest. So it's kind of like, you want to piss them off? Are you sure? You know, you are in LA, Silicon Valley. What happened? You want to piss? You do know they're just gonna evict you if you do that. They're just gonna be even bigger assholes towards you. It's gonna be like, oh, you know those taxes you've been avoiding? Now you have to pay them.
Yep.
So do you want to keep us pissing us off? Fine. You know all those regulations you've been avoiding? You're gonna have to make them. You know, you're gonna have to follow them now. Oh, you still okay? Then we're just gonna freaking allow protests. You know, we're gonna allow looters to come in. You still want to piss us off? Yeah, I mean that's what happens. So that's good actually.
Moving on, we have now the mainstream media in the United States is finally beginning to report on the war situation, the human crisis basically going on in Yemen that is being prosecuted by the Saudis and done so with arms and ammunition and so forth from the United States and the United Kingdom. We have an article from the Chicago Tribune saying, now this is as of last year, 50,000 children had died of starvation and disease in Yemen. And so, of course, the number is much larger now. Let's see what else we have here.
By the way, next time you mention a war, you might want to specify which one, because at this point, America is in so many wars.
There are 8. Yep. There are 8 wars in which America is actually participating. This one isn't considered one of our wars because we're not the ones doing the bombing. It's the Saudis, but we are supplying them with arms and ammunition and apparently some kind of strategic support. And I mean, they're bombing school buses with children. They're bombing hospitals. They're bombing wedding parties. It's insane, right? So just from a few days ago, we have an article at Consortium. Huh?
I said Aloha Snack Bar.
Oh yeah. So just from a few days ago, from Consortium News, we have an article how the Department of Homeland Security created a deceptive tale of Russia hacking U.S. voter sites, when in fact no such thing happened. The story that we've heard from at least 2 states is that their voter systems were hacked not by the Russians, but by the Department of Homeland Security.
What?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, listening to it more and more, I'm just like, wow, I should actually use a paper ballot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I always do. I never use those machines.
Yeah, in Italy, we're still using paper ballots just because going to an electronic system is very expensive. And unless you have a quadruple, quintuple firewall, it's kind of prone to hacking and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I mean, you can still rig a paper vote if your ballot is like really
stuffing the ballot box and things like that. There's a young lady by the name of Jennifer Cohn on Twitter who talks a lot about election integrity, and she's talking about paper ballots, and they can't just be just paper ballots. There also has to be, a system in place to make sure that you've got people representing the various parties all present at the parties and factions therein, represented at the precincts, so they can make sure no shenanigans go on, and then have them transport the ballots from the precinct to the county courthouse at the end of voting day, and so that there's always a sort of what do you call it, provenance, basically, of knowing where everything was at any given moment, and making sure that it gets there, and then counting by hand, and then recounting by hand, and stuff like that.
What they did in Italy, I believe, in this election, was they introduced a new ballot, which you open it up, you put the cross, and you refold it the way it was, and it had like a little strip that once you get to the attendant, he would tear it off and put it in there. And if you tore it off yourself, there would be a spoiled vote, because then you did it yourself. But I don't know. Like I said, like stuff like this could help. Again, in Italy, we have a multi-party system, so there are more parties. But yeah, also what the U.S. could do to avoid dead people voting would be giving every citizen a voting card. Like, you don't have to register every time; you just get a voting card, which has like.
Well, in Texas, it's actually like linked to your driver's license now. You show them your license when you show up to vote.
We have actually talked about this voter ID thing before, and the problem with that is that it costs money to have, to get a driver's license, and it's not a lot of money, but if you're like on public assistance or something, every fucking dime counts. Seriously, I mean, you're talking about people who live in some cases on less than $800 a month. It's not realistic. I mean, in the United States, it's pretty difficult to even get a one-bedroom efficiency apartment for less than $500 a month rent, and you're pretty lucky to get it for that little. And it's just, in certain places you can get it for that low. Most places, it seems like rent on a one-bedroom efficiency apartment goes for anywhere from $800 to over $1,000 a month. So, I mean, it's not very realistic to expect those people to cough up $25 to get a driver's license. In addition, you've got people who are unable to get out of their homes to go to the courthouse, to the DMV or whatever, to get a driver's license because, of disability or old age or whatever. The state of Oregon has paper ballots. They mail them out to you, and you send them back through the mail. That's maybe not entirely secure, because you never know, whether it's going to make it where it's supposed to go, and you don't know, for sure that the people actually did the voting. But it's certainly a better system than what we have at the moment in most states.
You can also drop the ballots off at a drop-off site.
Like in Italy, for example, you only get the ballot in the mail when you're living overseas. So when you get it, you're supposed to go to the embassy, vote there, or to the local consulate, and then you vote there, you put it there, and then they send it back to Italy. But what we have in Italy is essentially like a voting card, basically. So It has, I believe, 2 pages with 10 stamp places each that for referendums or for elections. And when you go to the voting station, your local voting station, where you register at, you're sort of permanently registered there, which I don't know how you could make it work in America, because Italy is much smaller. You don't have to, it doesn't take 2 hours. It doesn't take 2 hours to go from one state to the other. You get with the transport system, it is a bit more efficient. But what happens? You go there, they check it. They also sometimes ask for an ID, like driver's license, social security number, or your actual ID, like here's my ID card. And they give you the ballot. They stamp on your voting card to make sure you can't just come back or go to another booth and they just say, oh, you already voted. Why the fuck are you here? Then you vote, and then that's it. I mean, I think this system would make it a bit easier to spot fraud, because you can't go to the same place twice, because they would just go, why are you here? You already voted.
Yep.
Right.
Speaking of, I gotta go. It's late here.
Okay, take care, and thanks for coming in.
Thank you. I'll see you next week or so.
Okay. Good night.
See you guys.
But yeah, the registration system in the US is, when I looked at it, it's like, why do you register for a party, essentially? Isn't this
yeah, that's for the primaries usually, and I hate that.
Many states do not have party registration. The state I'm currently in does not have party registration. You can insist on it, and they will put it down on your registration and on the card that they give you. But it's not required, and they don't really like to do it. You kind of have to insist, basically.
This is kind of the you do have registration here for but we have more parties, obviously. But if you are a member of a specific party, you can vote for which candidate do you want to see for prime minister next, because we don't elect the president here. The president doesn't really have much power as a parliamentary system. But for the prime minister, like if you wanted you can actually elect the party leader if you're a member of that party. Like I want this guy to be the next party leader. So, that happens, but again, in Italy, you have many more parties. You don't have just these 2 parties and stuff like that.
Right.
And, I'm not affiliated to any party. I just, which one sounds the best this time? Which one sounds the least corrupt? Or which one sounds the least crazy this time? Which one is more sensible? So, I usually just vote. I'm not a member of a party because, the Communist Party isn't there anymore, and I just don't see my politicians as trustworthy people anymore. I mean, now that what's his face, 5-Star Movement and Salvini are in charge, I'm thinking, yeah, maybe the other guys were a bit more sane compared to these two.
Yeah, League of the North and 5-Star.
Yeah, I know. Actually, now it's just called the League because they didn't want to alienate the people of the South.
I see. So just Lega.
They're fucking assholes. They're lizards. They just do anything. I mean, Salvini is a fucking piece of shit. He's just going around shouting and just being a bully. And do you really want everybody around us to hate us? Because when you leave, everybody's gonna hate us. What are you gonna blame then? The migrants? You did this shit. I mean, that's the thing. Right now with the current government, we are getting very close to breaking international maritime law. Because before despite the previous Minister of the Interior, Minniti at least knew what the fuck he was doing and didn't make too extreme of. He did want to control this influx of migrants and refugees, but in more of a legal way, kind of let's at least within the boundaries of international law, let's at least work within those. Salvini just wants to break international law.
Yeah, well, yeah, Salvini, he's yeah. So let me. So there's also some news about the Honey Badger lawsuit. They did lose the initial suit against the Calvary Expo or whatever gaming convention.
Yeah, and that law seems to be I don't really get the whole law thing. It sort of looks like know how the internet works more than anything else.
So the Karen Strawn put out a video, I think it was today, saying that they are going to appeal, and they have like 15 or 16 grounds on which to appeal before they even got the written, you know, judgment. So I mean, I'll let Anime Moon talk about talk about that if he comes in. He's the guy. His wife isn't feeling well, and he said he might come in later if she gets feeling better. And he's part of their crew. So I mean, he writes for the Honey Badger website, so he would know more about it than I do. I just saw the video that he posted earlier. And so if he comes in, he can talk about that a bit. So like we also have, as we have seen recently in the United States, there's been an attempt to blame Russia that's been going on since about the middle of 2016, before the general election even happened, for all kinds of nasty stuff. And they are now also trying to point the finger at Iran. They're saying things like, if these other countries that are hostile to the United States see how easy it is to hack our election system and meddle and blah blah blah, then they might be doing it too. And they specifically mentioned Iran. But you know, this was expected, honestly, because the CNAS, Center for New American Security, which is a right-wing neoconservative think tank, the successor to the Project for the New American Century, wrote a paper published back in, I think it was March of 2016. We've talked about it before, in which they talked about putting the importance of what they called, quote, non-Russian pipelines, quote, in Syria and Iran, and they're talking about natural gas pipelines. So there's a video up on Jimmy Dore's channel talking about media already pushing war with Iran. The Democratic Party in the House and Senate have caved again and fast-tracked Trump's appointees for judges. Let's see. Andrew Gillum is a guy that was running for governor in Florida, and he has won the primary against the corporate Democrat who ran on identity politics. She's a woman, she's this, she's that. But Andrew Gillum's black. Not one of his campaign ads or anything of the sort ever pointed out, hey, I'm black, vote for me, you know. He campaigned on the issues, which was good. So, huh?
What party is it?
Democrat. Yeah, so, I mean, Nico House is a guy that he's the founder of the MCSC network, Mikasa Sukasa network. He's a probably fairly well-known progressive activist and journalist in the United States. And he's got a video up on his channel. It says, Andrew Gillum's primary victory proves identity politics loses races.
What's Andrew, just because of the sort of, you know, location where that he's using, what's his policy on Cuba?
I don't know, honestly.
I mean, I would like to see, like, I've seen some candidates who basically have stood up to the freaking anti-cash for Cuban lobby down there, which, you know, it's funny. You have a South Vietnamese community in the U.S. who hates Vietnam because, you know, communism and everything else, but you don't listen to that and kept the embargo. Whereas this community, this Cuban community in Florida, still gets listened to.
Yeah, I know. Let me look up and see if there's anything on his campaign page about Cuba.
If he wants to just basically, well, if his plan is basically let's be friendly to them because it worked well with Vietnam, then I actually respect him on that, because it's kind of like I think it's time to get rid of it. It's time to get rid of the freaking embargo, no matter what those freaking basically aristocrats in Florida that came from Cuba and used to, you know, be the big plantation owners and exploit the poor and do whatever the hell they wanted. When the revolution came, they basically said, well, we're gonna fuck the new government and strangle them and then prove that it was better than when we were in charge. It's kind of like, yeah, so you're basically starving your fellow Cubans because you don't like the new administration.
Yeah. I don't really think, honestly, the governor of Florida wouldn't be able to deal with that. That has to be done on the federal level because it is federal sanctions and not, you know, state sanctions. So I don't see anything on his campaign site about it. The only thing that I see about him in connection with Cuba is that he had I guess a victory rally at a Cuban-themed bar. So, you know, that's about it.
I mean, you know, he can do something as a governor. He can, you know, press the federal government.
You can put pressure on them and advocate for it, right? But he himself can't really. I mean, it's not within his purview.
I know. I'm just saying that you know, if he starts basically being the first person down there, actually saying then it can do something. It can actually at least start to get things moving. Because so far, very few candidates who are, you know, but mostly those that do talk about it get lose because, you know, the Cuban lobby down there is pretty powerful.
Right.
And you know, those that don't usually win, and you know, they keep drumming, let's keep solving this country, and then pretending we have the moral high ground.
Right. So also the prison strike that we talked about last week is still going on in the United States. Prison strike is supposed to last for 21 days, and it's strike over human rights. I told you about how they use these prisoners to do things like firefighting, they rent them out basically to various corporations to make garments and various other, you know, basically they're low under minimum wage workers. They get paid. Yeah, it's basically a modern form of slavery. They're basically paying them just enough maybe to survive on in the prison system, but it wouldn't be enough to survive on outside. So
I don't think they should be paid like full minimum wage though, because they are like, it depends on a lot of things. So
well, I mean, what you could do with that is put it into, you could put that into an account, a fund for them to get once they get out of prison. You know, it's not like something that they would be using while they're in prison, right? Also, and this was on Mundane Matt's channel, so he's got a video up about how Monster Energy Drink has sued the Mad Monster horror conventions over the trademark Monster. Now, you know, you can't really do this. You can't trademark a name like that. You have to trademark it in context. That's why I always said that the thing about Paris Hilton trying to trademark the phrase "that's hot," that's not how trademark law actually works. You can only trademark the name and use it as an adjective to modify a noun, the noun itself not being trademarked, but the adjective being the trademark. You have to use it in that way. You have to distinguish the word that is the word or the phrase that is the trademark by means of italics or boldface italics or something every time you put it in print. And it has to be, like I said, it has to be in a certain context. So Mad Monster Horror Convention, you know, they're just horror movie and horror novel fans who are, you know, trying to enjoy, you know, their fandom basically. They aren't. They're obviously not making energy drinks, you know. So Monster Energy Drink owns the trademark Monster, but only in connection with fucking energy drinks, right? So
this is like when you know, Principal Skinner made that park in the elementary school, and you know, the lawyers were, and it was like the happiest place on earth, and the lawyers were like, oh, you can't do this because Disney already owns that trademark on that phrase. And it was like, you do know you made one mistake. You made an ex-Marine mad and just kicks him in the face and run away. Like, it's essentially like this. It's like, you can't trademark a phrase.
Right. I mean, you can, but you have to use it as if it were an adjective, and it has to modify a noun, and you can only have it trademarked in that context. So, like, I don't know how many different businesses there are in the United States that are called Acme, but there's, like, the Acme Car Company, the Acme Brick Company, the Acme this company, the Acme that company, and as long as they're not stepping on each other's toes in that particular market, they can each own that name as their trademark. See, so I mean, and plus, you know, the word monster obviously is an English word with prior use. It's not something you can't own that word. I'm sorry, You can only own it in the certain context, which you know, relates to your product or service.
Like, there's a website that posts job listings called Monster.
Yeah, see, I mean, there are other businesses which do have the name as part of their trademark. What's Monster Energy Drink going to do? Sue them? So it's just ridiculous. It's just, you know, it's just an attempt to try to bully people and be dickheads.
It's what the Fine Bros did a while back.
Like a mega corporation that makes a fuck ton of money trying to bully people for more money. It's like, I think this is the point when greed gets too far. You know, it's like, hey, you're making a shit ton of profit. Why are you bullying us? Well, because you want total control. I think at this point, when somebody says capitalism is great, it's gonna, look, it's getting to the point where it's just the same as the oligarchy of Stalin. All right, they literally can do whatever the hell they want with you, and yet you still fucking worship them.
Yep. I'm gonna go ahead and include a link to that particular video in the video description here. Let me go ahead and put that in. So let's see, we've got a couple of, at least two more news pieces to go through here.
Let's say, guys, I have to log off. Have a good day.
Okay, you too, man. Thanks for coming in.
Okay.
See ya. Well, in news from my country, a church, you know, an historic church in Rome, the roof collapsed. So this is what, the second building that fucking collapses in my country? First the viaduct and then this.
Yeah.
We're not really
Who's
good
building these things?
Well, this thing was like, what, from the Roman era, more or less? So, yeah, pretty old.
Oh, the aqueduct,
like
yeah.
No, not the aqueduct, the viaduct. You know, this big bridge in Genoa that collapsed. That came from the 60s.
Yeah.
I'm actually gonna go and look what the name of the church was, because I thought, like, oh god, the country's just fucking collapsing.
Genova. So let's see what else we have here. Of course, we've got this business. Oh yeah, so there are polls out that, in spite of all the bullshit from the mainstream media and the U.S. intelligence community, or at least the hand-picked sycophants in 3 agencies, Americans want better relations with Russia and not sanctions and not war. So, oh yes, I did already talk about the net neutrality in California. The Democrats did vote to modify their superdelegate system at their convention, so that superdelegates will not get to vote during the first round of voting. However, they still get to vote in the second round of voting, and they still have power. If they were actually Democratic, they would have gotten rid of them entirely. And on top of that, they introduced a new thing where the DNC can basically deny someone the right to run on the Democratic Party ticket if they don't think that they're, you know, going to be good Democrats. So again, 1/2 step forward and 4 big steps back, basically. Donna Brazile has been stripped, speaking of superdelegate powers, speaking of superdelegates, Donna Brazile has been stripped of superdelegate powers, and now she's crying about it. But, you know, she wrote that book in which she came out and admitted that there were things that happened, right, that shouldn't have happened. And even though she pulled her punches in the book, did she really expect that they were going to allow her to retain any power in the corrupt party? So there's that.
I put the news of the church collapse in the news and stuff.
Okay, cool. So
this church was actually, it used to be built on the prison that's where they held St. Peter before they crucified him. This is a very old and important chapel in Italy. So luckily there were no injuries, but still, this stuff keeps collapsing. I'm trying to think my country is just falling apart at this point. It's so old that basically we're having a hard time maintaining it.
Yeah. Ethereal, you posted the 3 links about the brothel that was going to open in Toronto.
Yeah.
First sex doll brothel in North America was going to open in Toronto. The North York residents raised concerns, and the lease was canceled like a week before it was supposed to open. So that's...
Yep. And I found this relevant because today was the European release of a very bad game. A game about not looking at panties.
Oh my.
It's called Punchline, and I highly recommend everyone either go out and watch the anime or get the game.
Huh. Wow. I have Nier Automata. Alright, what's the name of this church? Luca. Are we here?
Yeah, I'm here. I just have to go and look for the name.
Okay.
I believe it's San Giuseppe. San Giuseppe dei Falegnami, which is kind of funny. It's Saint Joseph of the Carpenters, and the fucking roof, which is made of wood, collapses. Like, talk about huge irony of...
Wow, that's pretty messed up, though. Yeah. Okay. That's all the news that I have here planned to go through. Is there anything else?
I could jump and build the fucking thing then.
Any other news you guys want to talk about? I don't know.
Nothing's come out of North Korea so far. I think what the kind of trend that's going is that Kim Jong-un is basically crossing his fingers while talking to Trump. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, supposedly the agreement is breaking down or something, and Trump has talked about maybe resuming war games, drills, and so forth in the area, Korean Peninsula.
What does he even bother at this point? How many previous administrations have tried this? Hey, let's try to be nice to them. Like, I don't think being mean to them is gonna change anything. They're still gonna fucking... The thing is, their regime is dependent on shocking people to get concessions. So, at this point, just North Korea's done this. Like, are you even surprised? That's the entire shtick at this point.
Yeah.
My problem with the whole North Korea thing with Trump was you had Trump going over there and trying to be nice, and then in the middle of discussions when they go out to the public, you had some left-wingers coming out and asking Kim Jong-un to discuss the American that had died over in North Korea. Well, died when he came back from North Korea. That's not the right time to try and get answers about that from the North Korean dictator. We're in the middle of trying to talk peacefully.
Yeah.
Well, I think the father, Kim Il-sung was the grandfather, Kim Jong-il, to get concessions from Japan, he actually spilled the beans on the fact, we kidnapped these 15 Japanese children and tried to train them as spies to kill you guys. And then the Japanese were like, what? Really? Yes. Can we have some corn, please? No. No. I think Kim Jong-un looked at that and saying, I'm not doing that again. I'm not spilling the fucking beans. If I kill an American, I'm gonna keep that shit quiet.
Yeah.
I did just think of some news that's sort of old, but it's still interesting. So a while back they found that whole facility in New Mexico where they were training kids to do school shootings, or at least that's the version of events I heard. and they also found the body of a 3-year-old in this general area. But then, like, they got a court order. The people that they had found, like, at this place, they were allowed to go without really paying anything. They signed a bond or something and left. And then the whole place got bulldozed over, and nothing has come out for a couple weeks now.
Huh?
It's like it's being swept under the rug or something.
That's pretty weird. I haven't heard of this.
Yeah, the weirdest part was, like, the 3-year-old was apparently supposed to be, like, a resurrection of Jesus.
That's really weird.
Guys, one of those cult thing, isn't
it? It was a cult. They had children they were training to do school shootings.
That's freaking weird.
That's events I heard.
Wow.
So another news, you know the guy from Rebel Media, Ursa, I forgot his surname. Yeah, him, Tommy Robinson, I believe, Paul Joseph Watson, Lawrence Southern, and Alex Jones are gonna do this big trip down the Danube with their boat. And it's like, you guys sure? You know, maybe one of those countries is gonna start showing you.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm kind of sorry my country didn't take the opportunity to kill Lauren when she was doing the whole piracy shit in my waters. They should have just opened fire.
Yeah, when they were firing flares over the top of the refugee boats.
People are defending her. It's like, why do you? It's like, because that's against international law. Like, these guys,
Yeah.
like, they talk about the fucking foreigners should follow the law. It's like, well, you don't seem to want to follow it. You see, it's okay because, you know, go around killing, murdering, you know. And the funny thing is, she did this in my country. She's Canadian. Our foreigners should follow the law of the land. Okay, come to my country and actually follow the fucking law of the land, you bitch.
What's that old saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans?
Yeah, which it probably includes going to orgies, but that's kind of like, oh, you know, you should go to the orgy. Okay, well, one in Rome, you just send it to the fucking wife. Well, one in Rome.
I don't think you guys have orgies so commonly these days, huh?
If you talk to a certain prime minister, yes, yeah, lots and lots of them. Like whenever I hear Trump sex scandals, it's like thinking this guy has the same self-control when it comes to women as Berlusconi has.
Silvio, yeah. So, yeah, but actually, if you want orgies, I'm told there are a few places in LA where you can get into them.
And I mean, that's like the thing about Southern that pisses, like, well, the thing that pisses me off the most is obviously that she came to my country, the shit while still championing the idea of follow the rule of the land if you're a migrant or if you're a foreigner. The thing that pisses me off the most is that she harkens back to like this 1950s U.S. mentality of the family and of the wife, and yet she's an independent woman having a YouTube career. I'm like thinking, why the fuck don't you preach what you pray? Sorry, why don't you do what you preach? Get off YouTube and go find a fucking husband who will beat you and force you to make food for him. Why don't you do that instead of just annoying everybody else? You vapid, blonde piece of shit. I mean, I'm pissed at her for fuck. She's supporting fascism. And
yeah.
You know, send my country down the road to fucking hell and made us basically it didn't make us the boogeyman, it made the Germans the boogeyman of the world. But, you know, it's kind of like, hey, bitch, you come from a country that has never had a dictatorship, but don't start crying for one, because, you know, you're gonna be the first one they purge. Remember Ernst Röhm got Hitler to power? As soon as Hitler got as soon as Hitler got dictatorial power, that was the first person he killed, because he might become a danger for your new rulers.
Yeah, the Night of the Long Nights. Night of the Long Knives. Sorry, knives.
Yeah, that was. I mean, you know, Hitler killed Rome because, you know, Rome was a danger. He got him into power. He represented the power structure that got him up there. So you have to purge it, get rid of it, and then you can build a new power structure once you're in power. I mean, that's what Lauren fails to understand. And you know why? Because she doesn't care. She's just there to make a few money. That's what disgusts me. It's basically, this is why I'm saying if a dictatorship comes and you're tortured and you try to come to my country for political asylum, I'm going to petition my government to kick you right back. It's like, no, you suffer underneath there. But if you survive and you still preach it, then we're going to chop your head off. If you actually repent, then we're going to say, yeah, stop it. Go into fucking hiding and never come out. You don't deserve to be listened to anymore.
Yeah. So, let's see. Now, yeah, the whole thing with these kind of sensationalist, what do they call that type of journalism? There's a specific name for yellow journalism. I think it's
called yellow. It's called the yellow press, which is sensationalist bullshit just to make money. All tabloid media.
Yeah. So there's that. So I don't. Is there anything else you guys would like to talk about? Because I don't have anything else on my agenda.
I did just remember another thing.
Okay.
Something Anime Moon would probably want me to mention. The documentary American Circumcision got released today as well.
Oh.
And that's like, it got released and it covers like the whole controversy in America on that issue.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's cool. Yeah, certainly there's a lot of stuff about... I know during the 60s and 70s they were still trying to claim that it had hygiene benefits, that it was some kind of health thing, and it wasn't.
It's actually like really insane, but like up to the 90s, like up to the 90s it was still going on like it's supposed to prevent masturbation.
Yeah,
in the 90s still.
Why do they care? I mean, I heard the one guy, Gonzalo, as he calls himself, I'm not really sure that's his name, Coach Red Pill, in one of his videos, and I think this was a clip in the video Kraut did about him, where he said, every guy does it, and most of them start around 12, and I started when I was 12, and I'm like, man, you guys are you didn't start till you were 12. Everybody I know started when they were 4 or 5.
I mean, that makes sense because it's America and just the way the biology works, honestly.
It's just really strange. But yeah, I don't, what's the problem with masturbation? If it prevents...
God doesn't like it.
It prevents prostate cancer. It really does. I mean, if you do not either do that or have frequent sex when you're in your 20s, you are more likely to develop prostate cancer when you're older as a man. And apparently, nursing in your 20s is a good way to lessen your chances of getting breast cancer as a woman.
Yeah, God doesn't like a lot of things.
But haven't you heard, Liviana? Having a child is like heterosexuality. It's the dumbest thing you could possibly do.
Yeah, you breeders, I tell you what.
Oh, jeez. But yeah, whenever I hear this stuff, like, oh, masturbation is bad, it's like, okay, who told you that? God. Oh, so your imaginary friend told you that. Nice to know.
He also said no anal.
Yeah, I mean,
also said no, you can't eat shellfish. What the fuck, man? Who doesn't want to eat shellfish?
Or shave, or, wear mixed fabrics, which,
yeah.
Fuck modern clothing, fuck shaving, which, if you don't know. I don't know, some people like to have a beard, I don't mind, but, I like to have a nice clean shaven face because I like to feel my pillow when I go to sleep.
Because you're a Roman. Yeah, the Romans all shaved, and especially in the military.
Well,
And
Well,
the
let's
only
be fair,
people in Rome who had beards were philosophers.
and barbarians, obviously. Well, let's be fair. It's very hot. It's very hot in the Mediterranean. So having a beard is a bit detrimental unless it's the winter. But you know, most of the time it's quite hot, so you're gonna have to shave that stuff off. But again, some people in my country have a beard. That, well, you know, I think there are people in every country that have a beard. I mean, I don't begrudge them. I'm just not a beard person because then you have to take care of it and stuff like that. It's like, you know, let's just shave. Who cares? It's better to just do this thing than to actually having to take care of another set of fucking hair that you have up here. I mean, it's really just a chore taking care of your hair. Actually having something down there on your chin is like, oh god, I have to take care of two things at once. Ah. But yeah, it's a bit weird that God would specifically prescribe no shaving. You know, it's a little bit weird. You can't trim your beard. Why? Well, reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess like back in the day was because if you cut yourself while shaving, that could, you know, kill you. I mean, I get us like back then because they didn't really know much about hygiene and stuff like that. So I get, yeah, okay, back in the day, fine, I get it. But now we know all this stuff. Why do you still do it? I mean, this is why they sort of ignore the whole shellfish and pork and shaving and fabrics thing because.
Oh yes. Oh, there's another thing. Look here. Yeah. Okay. There's a passage. I think it's in Leviticus, but it may be in Deuteronomy. I forget now. Where it says, "You shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk, nor a calf in its mother's milk." So you couldn't have, like, if you're an Orthodox Jew, you can't eat a cheeseburger because you've got cheese, which is made from cow milk, and the hamburger patty, which is, you know, a cow. Even though you didn't boil.
In relation to the circumcision topic, Galatians 5 in the New Testament outright just says, if you allow the practice to be forced on you, you should just go the full way and castrate yourself.
There's a lot of interesting stuff there. There's also the passage in Galatians where it says, "In Christ there is no Greek nor Jew, there is no bond or free, there is no male or female, but all are one in Christ Jesus." So I
that's the thing. Christ was supposed to be the last sacrifice in Christian chronology, essentially.
Yeah, there's also a passage which says that you're not supposed to pray in public.
That's in Matthew chapter 6, verses 1 through 6, and you've got all these Baptists running around in the United States trying to make a law that you have to have public prayer in public schools to start your day.
Or you have Rick Perry, the most religious man in Texas, filling a stadium with Christians to pray for God to send rain down during a drought. And I'm like thinking,
yeah,
Rick, I don't think that's gonna work very well. Are you really that?
Yeah.
Like all the churches in my area, even the local newspaper, it all says pray for rain, and everyone does pretty much.
Yeah, so I mean,
because it's just so dry.
As a native Texan, I can tell you, and I know I'm not there now, fortunately, because I'm not crazy. I'm proud to be from Texas, but I'm also proud that I don't live there anymore. I can tell you that the state government in Texas is Baptist-ridden. It's just completely filled with these fundamentalists and maybe a few evangelical Southern Baptists.
Here's the difference between like these evangelicals and the church in Italy. Like, you know, it didn't rain for a few days, and you know it's kind of getting towards autumn. You know, it's supposed to start raining after a while. So you know, I was like talking to the priest. You know, he comes out, we just start chatting. I was like, "Hey, it's been raining for a few days." You're right. You know, it happens sometimes. And so he goes back in. I mean, it happens sometimes, and he goes back in. Like he doesn't say maybe we should start praying for rain because it was only a couple of days. You know, it's kind of like you know, it happens sometimes. You know, all this
yeah.
Stuff. Yeah. I mean, they don't care. It's kind of like you know, it's gonna come down eventually.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, like people, even the churches stopped caring about this stuff. It's kind of like, yeah, I mean, we are the country of doing things half-heartedly. It's kind of like, fuck it, no. I'm not joking. I mean, for goodness sake, there are people here still, you know the bridge that collapsed. There's still a bit of it that's still up, but now they're gonna have to tear it down because it's in danger of actually falling over. Some people say we should just keep it there, and I'm like, as what? A monument to our failures? No, so
my goodness.
We keep that part and we build a new bridge attached to that one. But okay, I get it as a cost-saving measure, but you know you're gonna have two different bridges with two different designs. Oh, come on, we'll save a bit of money, yeah, and basically leave a monument. Yeah, that old thing collapsed, so don't worry, that stuff's still up.
Yeah, take that down. I mean, I want to go.
We are taking it down now because because the pillars are threatening to collapse on what's left of the houses.
Oh my goodness! Like,
yeah, you know, when they told me maybe we should keep that part as what, a monument to our failures.